Brown vaginal discharge. Causes, symptoms and treatments. Vaginal discharge is a normal occurrence for women. It is a whitish mucus or white liquid that keeps the vagina healthy and away from infections and germs. But what happens when you have a brown discharge? Brown bloody discharge comes out of your vagina when your discharge is mixed with old blood. Your cervix and the walls of your vagina secretes different types of mucus depending on what stage of your menstrual cycle you are in. For example, before ovulation, your cervical mucus is creamy, during ovulation wet and slippery, and before period milky or creamy white. So why do you have a dark brownish discharge when not on my period? Causes of brown discharge. Some of the reasons are serious while others are nothing to worry about. Pregnancy. Some women have light brown spotting in early pregnancy, known as implantation bleeding. After fertilization, the embryo moves down the fallopian tube and arrives in the uterus 6-7 days after. Once the embryo arrives in the uterus, it then attaches or embeds itself to the lining of the uterus in a process called implantation. Implantation can sometimes cause a small amount of blood from the thickened uterine lining to be shed. Implantation bleeding is one of the earliest symptoms of pregnancy. Sexually transmitted disease. A brown or bloody vaginal discharge is also caused by sexually transmitted disease such as chlamydia and gonorrhea. A discharge caused by an STD may also be accompanied by an odor, itchiness, burning sensation while peeing or pain during sex. Chlamydia is one of the most common sexually transmitted diseases. It is a bacterial infection that is caused by having unprotected sex with an infected person. Symptoms of chlamydia are abnormal vaginal discharge, bleeding between periods, itching and vaginal irritation, painful urination and sexual intercourse. Gonorrhea is also a sexually transmitted disease caused by a bacteria called Escherichia gonorrhoeae. Symptoms of gonorrhea are unusual discharge, frequent urination, heavy periods, lower abdominal pain, itching and vaginal irritation, pain while urinating and during intercourse. Ovulation. Ovulation is the release of an egg from the ovary. During the stages of ovulation, the follicle bursts open to expel the egg. This expulsion may cause cramping and spotting. A few women experience ovulation spotting, and this serves as a sign that ovulation has taken place. Cervical polyps. Cervical polyps are benign tumors or abnormal growths on the cervix. The cervix connects the uterus and vaginal. Because the structures are so fragile, polyps on the cervix can cause your discharge to be mixed with blood. Symptoms of polyps are vaginal spotting or bleeding after sexual intercourse and between periods. Cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is the cancer that affects the cervix, and it has the potential of spreading to other parts of the body. Although cancer of the cervix rarely has symptoms, but if you do have, you may experience abnormal bleeding from the vagina after sex, between your periods or after you are in the menopausal stage. Birth control pills. Women on the pill often complain of brownish vaginal discharge. Women use birth control pills to prevent pregnancy, but they can come with their own side effects too. Within the first 2-3 months of starting the pill, you may experience bleeding between periods, nausea, headaches and sore breasts. Is brown discharge a sign of pregnancy? If you are trying to conceive and you had unprotected intercourse around the time of your ovulation, you may be pregnant. The best way to check if you are pregnant is to take a pregnancy test. But some of the early pregnancy symptoms include pinkish or brownish discharge before period. Is brown discharge during pregnancy normal? A bloody discharge during pregnancy may mean something is wrong. Anytime you notice any form of blood and you are pregnant or suspect you are pregnant, see the doctor immediately. What does brown discharge before period mean? Brownish spots of blood a few days before your expected period may signify you are in the early stages of pregnancy. After a successful fertilization, the embryo moves from the fallopian tubes to the uterus to attach itself to the uterus lining endometrium. What does brown discharge after period mean? Bloody discharge a few days after your period may mean the uterus is trying to get rid of blood that didn't get expelled during the normal menstruation process. Uterine incapacity is the inability of the uterus to expel all of its blood before the period ends. There may be some cramping and blood clots when the uterus contracts to flush out the old blood.